How is there still, like, a stigma associated with being a Republican? Like, Republicans are not the ones who need to explain themselves.
The reason is because people on the left actually have the ability to back up what they believe in with facts and science, and people on the right don't actually believe anything with any actual substance. So we're going to go ahead and go through this guy's points and prove all of them wrong real fast.
Associated with being a Republican. Like, Republicans are not the ones who need to explain themselves, especially after what we've seen the past couple of years. Republicans aren't the ones who shut down tens of thousands of small businesses with lockdowns.
We're going to get to that little dog whistle I saw at the bottom there that you didn't actually want to say, you just wanted to type out. But clearly locking down was the right choice, because despite locking down, despite our best efforts, 1 million people fucking died from COVID in the United States. Oh, and don't worry, we're going to address that little BLM comment you put in there. Yeah, so if you didn't actually know, there are multiple reported confirmed arrests for the people that were rioting or started the rioting were actually orchestrated by a lot of white supremacists to try to harm the BLM movement. And there are multiple instances, literally dozens of articles that show this.
We aren't the ones who put kids in masks. We aren't the ones who got people fired from their jobs for not taking a vaccine that was rapidly developed.
The kid comment is just silly. If you want to stop kids from getting sick, they should just wear masks. This is basic medical practice at this point. Another thing you're wrong about, Fox News, literally the most Republican thing I can fucking think of, required vaccine passports to be able to go to work. Not to mention, whether or not it was rushed or not, here's the first year of COVID, and here's the second year of COVID. Republicans were 30% more likely to die from COVID than Democrats were after the vaccine got rushed out. So clearly, it was a very successful rushed vaccine.
We aren't the ones who are pushing children to mutilate their bodies and get irreversible surgery. Literally just genital mutilation. We aren't the ones encouraging children, again, to get on puberty blockers.
So I've already done the math for this in a different video. I'll go ahead and pin that in case you do want to watch it and check my math. But from the years 2019 to 2021, there were only about 56 teenagers, 13 to 17, that have received bottom surgery, have mutilated their genitals. So I did the math based off the number of transgender people that there actually were, kids 13 to 17, and it was 0.0186%, which is less than 0.1% of the number of transgender kids that are actually getting bottom surgery. I say this all the time, but I'll say it again loud and proud, that the reason that we support transgender youth 13 to 17 getting gender affirming care is because it lowers their chance of committing self-harm by 73%, somewhere around there anyway. So if you were actually pro-life and care about kids, you would also support gender affirming care for teenagers.
One suggesting reparations for millions of dollars per person for people who never were slaves, who live in a state that never had slavery.
I understand people may not know about this, but there's this thing called redlining, which is something relatively more recent than slavery that was also still super, super racist to people of color. Long story short on redlining, if a person of color came into a bank and wanted to buy a house, if that house was in a white neighborhood, they would not be able to qualify for that loan. As a result, they ended up redlining people of color into one specific area where the properties would not maintain their value and appreciate at the same value as their white counterparts. This became such a big deal, they eventually passed the Fair Housing Act where they were not allowed to discriminate against people of color when they're trying to buy a property. People of color who were redlined ended up making 52% less than their white counterparts, or $212,000. In terms of property value that could have resulted in generational wealth for people of color. And in case you're wondering, why should we pay reparations to people now? Well, due to the fact that we literally purposely screwed over people of color, we prevented generations of wealth growth for them. And if they were able to generate that wealth over time, people of color on average would have way more money.
And yet, we're the ones who are expected to explain ourselves. We're the ones who continue to be stigmatized for our beliefs.
The reason you are asked to explain yourself is because, as you can see from this video, everything that you believe in is not actually backed up by any facts or logic. And so when we ask you to actually explain your logic or why you believe that, you act like a victim. Because the reality is that the things that you guys believe, you believe them for dumb reasons, because of propaganda, because of anti-science belief for some reason. So yes, the reason that you are stigmatized is because your entire party is wrong about every single belief that you have, and you have no way to actually back up your beliefs because you know they're wrong.